My friend, welcome to the world's best kept secret podcast, a podcast that brings you exclusive interviews from experts all over the world with life-changing work that you didn't even know existed. I'm your host, Prima Jope, a partner for those that are ready to take their life-changing work in front of those whose life or business depends on it. Please follow or subscribe for more. Welcome back. Today is a happy day for me because I do have my friend Joe on the show today, and Joe talks about legacy. I love legacy, however you want to define it. One day we will all be in the ground, and I can assure you 100 years later, no one will care. 10 years later, maybe your dear ones will care, but nobody will care. But what if we could change what happened after we were in the ground? What if there was still a representation of who we are? What if people could still see us for what we stood for? What if we wrote that? It's like, the way I look at legacy is like building a story, a book about your life, and having people read it when you're no more. You can write that book or you can let people guess. And so personally, I made a decision. I do not want people to guess when I'm gone. I want them to know what I stood for by waking up and doing it. And Joe does the same thing in his own way. He's doing the same thing, which is helping people build a legacy consciously. I'm excited to be bringing him on because I feel like he has a fountain of wisdom to give. I love guests who are educated, but I also love guests who are both educated and who have gone through the sweat, the tears, the frustrations, and they are coming from the school of hard knocks. I have lived, I did this thing, I went through all these things. This is now what I know, and I wish no one goes through my entire life to learn it. And that's Joe for you. Someone that I am bringing up from the school of hard knocks, which means whatever they teach, whatever they say, whatever advice they have is from their hard-earned sweat, tears, frustration, money spent, mistakes made, and from their heart, they're saying you don't have to go through the same. Currently, Joe is the CEO of the Life You Love coaching. He empowers mission-driven business leaders and dreamers to create meaningful personal legacy. He believes in making a significant impact by challenging conventional thinking and providing practical strategies that people can use in today's practical world. Joe's mission is to help clients live a life they love and establish a lasting legacy right now, right here, not someday. Yolanda, welcome to the world's best kept secret. It's my honor to have you on.
The honor is mine, Prima. It's fantastic to see you again and to have this conversation with you.
In introducing you, what is the part I left out that you feel needs to be heard before we dive in?
That each step of the way, whether it was as an attorney, whether it was as a HR manager in a large company, or working as a governmental attorney, or the 18 years as a financial advisor and coach, each step of the way, I always asked myself, Prima, is this it? Is this what the rest of my life looks like? And each role I played, I felt, wow, I'm doing some good in the world. I can see that. But I also always felt tugged. I felt pulled. I felt called towards something that was greater, that my life was meant for. And I just never stopped. With over 35 years of personal growth and development work and transformational work, I just never stopped. And my friends look at me and they're crazy. Joe, haven't you learned enough? Haven't you grown enough? Aren't you spiritual enough? And to me, the answer is I'll never stop. It's a lifelong endeavor. And I'll never stop striving to make the biggest impact, make the biggest difference, and make sure I'm using my God-given skills and talents and the experiences I've had to benefit others.
Joe, when is enough enough? When is the point where Joe will feel like, now I can't die? Or are you going to be the guy that is still pushing on the last day of your life? When is enough, Joe? When do we get to enjoy this whole work we are doing? I'm confused. When is enough for you?
You know, if my last breath, if my last statement on this plane, on this earth, is a statement that ends up motivating or inspiring someone to see something for themselves about their own life and what they're capable of, and drives them towards taking action and fulfilling on that, then to me, then I'll say, okay, that was enough. That was my last statement, my last breath.
One last song, and one last song, and one last song. I want to take you to a place where it can be very confusing and tempting, and it's a place which is hard to get from when you have the money and you have the cars and you have the children and you have the wife and you have the golden opportunity to be, I don't know, in a company that pays you, but then you feel like you're made for more. Take me in your life and help me understand your process of jumping out, because I feel like I don't even understand if that's a visible problem. So first of all, explain to me the people that your message is made for. What does a day look like for them in terms of, I know there is more and I do not know that this is it. I want you to help us understand, like, who am I? What's happening in my life to qualify myself for the work you do? To say, oh my God, I need this one.
Well, let me start this way. I'll start with a general statement. The short version is that who I help are successful professionals, executives, and business leaders who crave more than just their professional and financial achievements. And you want to create and live a unique personal legacy now that makes a meaningful difference both now and potentially for generations to come. You feel there's more that is there for you to accomplish and do in your life that's beyond the skills that you've used to create a very nice lifestyle. And what comes to mind, Prima, is that most people lead, and I'll paraphrase the words of the author Henry David Thoreau, who said that most people lead lives of quiet desperation. And that's such a powerful phrase, quiet desperation. What is he getting at? Well, what comes to my mind is I think of there are times in my town when I pass a corner and I'll see someone who has a sign up saying, I'm homeless. I please give. That's not quiet desperation. They're proclaiming it to the world. They need help. Most people live a quiet desperation. So they may have the things that you described, a comfortable home, the cars, many toys, the vacations, all the things that go with a certain level of financial security, but yet there's a quiet desperation. There's a feeling of there's something more. I haven't figured it out yet. And what I've been doing is trying to just squash it down by chasing more things, going on more vacations, playing more golf, spending more time on the beach, doing things that are certainly wonderful to experience in life and are nice, but those cannot replace the sense of fulfillment and joy and passion that comes when you really feel you're doing all you can and giving all you can to make the difference that you're meant to make in this world.
Mm, that's really good. There's more. There's, that feeling is very stubborn because it's very clear. There is more to your name. It appears to me like a haunting. I feel haunted to do more. I feel haunted to serve more people. I feel haunted to go out there and serve. For me, it's a haunting on my name. I feel like if I decided to just die on the couch, that voice would haunt me to the grave. Like I just feel that voice say, Prima, get up, go serve people. Like I feel that little voice in me when I was at a job. Every day I would wake up and go, yeah, this is not it. Like it's a very clear voice and calling that says, no, this is not it. And to your saying, is this it? That was so good. But I remember before I got married, I used to wonder, like, how do you know if the person is the one? And I was like, how do you know? And my friends used to tell me, you get butterflies and you get this. And I'm like, okay, I haven't met the one. But it wasn't clear like butterflies. You can't wait to talk to them like, I don't know. And I wasn't so clear, like, how do I know that this man is the one? And I just wanted that answer. And so I kept digging and kept digging and kept digging. And I landed on one pastor called Pastor Ture Roberts. And his side, there is a question in your heart right now that says, is he the one? And like, I will give you a straight answer, he's not. He said, when you know, you know. When it is it, you know it's it. And when it's anything else but it, then it's not. Let me break it to you that if you're thinking, is he the one? The answer is no, because if he was the one, you wouldn't have that question. You would just know. So I love what you said there, like, is this it? And the answer is no, it's not. There is more. There's a calling on your name. You are one of us. They're made for more human beings. And unfortunately, welcome to our world. Joe, I would love to, I'd love to jump in your story and get the listeners to walk with you, because I feel like there's a lot there that's very helpful for all of us.
Sure. Well, in one word, I can start with, and I've thought about this, and this was not always clear to me, but in only the recent years it did become. And the one word I would say, this is going to sound strange, Prima, but bear with me. The word is actually the name of a town in Poland. And the name of the town is Mielec.
Okay.
What is Mielec? Well, Mielec still exists today as a geographical location. And it's the town where my grandfather was born in Poland. And he was the oldest of about 11 children. And he grew up in pre-World War II Poland and had learned the trade of being a tailor, but was already experiencing the winds of anti-Semitism that were inhibiting him from having the full level of success and of being able to apply his trade and make a livelihood for himself. And he decided that he needed to go to America, the land of opportunity, if he was going to be able to make a life for himself and build a family. And he urged his brothers and sisters to join him, that there was nothing here for their future, that they needed to pull up their roots. And out of those 11 children, only one, his sister, came immediately within a short period of time to America with him through Ellis Island, Statue of Liberty. And he came and he did become a tailor. And more than that, he worked in the New York City garment district. And he became a union leader, helping women and advocating for women's rights to be able to work in a respectful and environment in which they could flourish. So he was more than just for himself and his own livelihood. He was there advocating for others. Well, let's flash forward. As it turns out, Mielec was the town that when Nazi Germany invaded Poland and began World War II,
Mm.
Hitler had been planning what we now know is called the final solution, which the final solution was to wipe out all Jews. They were the scapegoats and the enemy that he could point to and unite at that time the German people around. And the final solution was going to begin in Poland. And yes, in what town? Mielec, where my grandfather was from.
Wow.
His entire family was wiped out in that war. By all accounts, I shouldn't even be here now. I
Mm.
should I should have been a dot in history, one of the nameless in the graves. And I realize that now, and I only put it together really clearly. What was it then that I'm here to do if my grandfather and now me have survived that, we have to somehow pay that forward. We have to somehow make our lives a blessing.
Mm.
And then recently, and I will go back and answer like what led to that point, but I'm flashing forward a bit to when I first decided to become a coach, a life and legacy coach. And while I was preparing for it, I came across the book by Viktor Frankl, a psychiatrist from Austria, called Man's Search for Meaning.
Mm.
And in that book, Dr. Frankl, who was sent to the concentration camps. He was in Auschwitz, one of like the worst,
Mm.
and he had observations. And he observed something very profound, which was that the prisoners under those horrendous conditions who were still able to live the longest were those who had a clear idea of what they were living for, whether that was some cause, whether that was for people. There was something that they had such a deep passion for to live for that they either survived or last the longest. And he noticed this. And it brought to my mind, wow, his message then became one of the amazing force of having a clear mission in our lives, of
Mm.
having a clear purpose, of what I call of living your legacy now, not just taking it for granted or hoping that there's a legacy you will ultimately, but you get to live now and bring to others. If that energy of purpose is able to have people live in death camps and survive those, think of what that energy can do for us when we are already achieving a level of security, financial and otherwise, and using that life force, that force of purpose, that force of mission and passion and legacy to drive us to live a life of fulfillment and the fullest joy that is our birthright. That's when I realized from Viktor Frankl, who survived the Holocaust, my grandfather who survived it by coming to America, I put those two together and realized that is now my mission and my job is to help others get in touch with that experience of living their legacy, pursuing their mission, not just settling for the goodies of life, which are wonderful, but to do more, do what they're capable of, and do what they really feel passionate and called to do.
That's really good. I don't know if I have any follow-up from that story. So then the that was the activator, really. That was the legacy. You talk about legacy activation. I wonder if you would love to jump into that piece because I may know there is more, but how do I activate that? How do I get the clarity of the what? For me, I always knew there is more, but I never knew the thing. Like, what is the more? It's there, I see. What does it look like? And I know you have something called the legacy activator, and I wonder if now would be a good time to talk about it.
Sure. Let's go there.
Hmm.
So from my own journey, which by the way, what it looked like. It wasn't just suddenly waking up in the middle of the night and saying, oh, my grandfather survived so that I could do this. And Viktor Frankl said, no, it was more like I asked that question, is this it? And I still remember sitting in my office and and everyone had left for the day, and I'm staring out these office windows and I'm making calls. At the time, I was a wealth advisor helping expand a New York wealth management firm into Connecticut, where I live. And I'm dialing these numbers of CPAs to partner with to expand. And I looked at the phone and I said, is this it?
Mm.
And that then got me dreaming. What else might it be? And later that night, I was at a men's team meeting and I was sitting around a fire pit on a cold fall evening. And we did an exercise called What is My Dream Life? To your point, to your question, what is my dream life look like? What is it I'm really here to do? And I shared with the men that night my dream of creating this, what I call tribal gathering, where I bring people from all different nationalities and countries and religions and beliefs, and we all come together for a weekend and share our individuality and what we're most proud of our heritage. And then we share our dreams and hopes for ourselves and our families, ultimately realizing by the end of the weekend, we are all the same. We all want the same things: love and security and respect, and to make a difference and to contribute. We all want that. And then we celebrate, we dance around the fire, and there's drums and there's music and there's food and there's celebration, all of us united. And I shared this dream with the men that night, and one of them turned to me and he says, hey, Lander, he goes, I feel like I may have heard bits of this kind of dream of yours before. And all I want to know is this going to be like this pretty vase on a shelf that every now and then you bring down, you dust it off, show it, hey, isn't this pretty? And then put it back up on the shelf? Or are you actually going to do something about it?
Wow.
I picture like those medical defibrillators, where you have to go back and it brings you to life and shocks you back into life. I felt like I had been fibrillated, if that's a word. And I was shocked. And I said, you know what? I am going to do something. And that started me on a journey where I met with a mindfulness teacher. I was thinking maybe I will bring mindfulness to corporate America and help with more fulfilling lives of workers, and they'll be better at home with their family. I started dreaming. It wasn't clear to me immediately. And then I said, well, I have a financial practice. I have to sell that first. And I went to a firm that said, you don't have to sell, Joe. You can go do your mindfulness training, and we have a staff to help you service your clients' needs, and you'll just meet with them and you can continue on. And during that journey with that firm, I got into financial coaching. And financial coaching was about asking you, again, these are the questions that start pointing to answering your question, how do I know? As a financial coach, we always began not with when do you want to retire? How much do you need to fund your child's education? What kind of vacation? No, we didn't start with the numbers. We started with a very profound question. And that question was, what is your true purpose for money? That which is more important than money itself.
Wow.
And that question I loved so much. I started running with it, and I was asked by the firm to do workshops and helping people defeat their money demons and to get clear on their true purpose for their lives. And I got to a point where that's all I wanted to talk about. I no longer wanted to educate them then on prudent investing and the academics of investing. I just wanted to have conversations all day with people about their true purpose for their money and their lives. And that's what began my journey as a life and legacy coach. But I had to get to that point where I was confronted with, am I going to do something about this?
Mm.
So to answer your question, how do I know it? There were 3 steps that if I condensed it down, that I personally experienced that made the difference. Even though I was successful by all means, from the spectator, it looked like Joe's got a nice house in the burbs, a beautiful wife, 2.2 kids. He's got the dog. He's got the vacations. All check, check, check.
Mm.
And little did they know, but there was this quiet desperation. Am I living all that I'm here to live and to contribute?
Mm.
So, number one step on that journey for clarity
Mm.
is I had to stop those soul crushing yeah buts from determining my life
Mm.
and then get clear on what is my unique personal legacy. So, what do I mean? Even before you get to ask the question, you have to be ready to say, okay, yeah, but I worked hard to build this lifestyle. Or, yeah, but I don't want to do something different because maybe I'm being ungrateful for feeling discontented in any way.
Mm.
Or, yeah, but what if I try to develop something new and exciting and I'm not as successful as I've been in my career and it doesn't end up working out? And there's that fear of failure. All those yeah, buts, you
Mm.
have to reach a point where you say, I'm willing to go through what I need to go through in order to live my legacy, live my calling, and make my mark in the world and in history to whatever extent I'm capable of.
Mm.
And that's when you reach the point where you say, okay, time to get clear on what is my unique legacy.
Mm.
And if I had to boil it down to, and this is the answer to your question, what are the basic 3 steps for me to gain that clarity, for you to have that confidence moving forward into another direction? That doesn't
Mm.
necessarily mean abandoning everything you have, but
Mm.
that adds to your life.
Mm.
And there are 3 steps that I incorporated from, again, 35 years, pulling from all different personal development and transformational work I had done. And I would say what comes down to is too often we rely on others thinking they're our gurus who will give us the answer. It's going to be in this book. It's going to be in that workshop. It's going to be jumping up and down in this retreat for the weekend and bringing up my energy. And then I'm going to be inspired and motivated to do something new. And not realizing all along that the real secret is becoming your own guru. So what do
Mm.
I mean by becoming your own guru?
I like that.
When you're your own guru,
Mm.
you start by like being an anthropologist in a way, like
Mm.
Indiana Jones, right? We're
Mm.
going to go on an adventure, and the adventure is called your life.
Mm.
And we're going to sift through. We're going to look through your current reality and what brought you to this point in very clear black and white without explanation. Here's where I am. Here's what brought me to this point. This is what's so. You have to know your plan, your where you're launching from
Mm.
before you can launch to where it is you want to get to and be
Mm.
clear on. So
Mm.
it starts with anthropologists. Let me just gather the facts.
Mm.
Then it's like becoming a Disney Imagineer.
Mm.
So what are the Disney Imagineers? They not tied to what has been from the past and the past movie makers and their characters and the ways that things were done. You become your own Imagineer of free from expectations of others, free from whatever your parents or your educators or religious figures may have said to you. You, this is your chance in your time, free from it all, to look inside and say, what is it that I can imagine and envision my life that would feel so good and so juicy and so fulfilling and so free and so meaningful that I just want to let loose and roll that movie reel. And you get the chance to do that. And that's what I did. And ultimately, from that envisioning, and here's where
Mm.
we get to what you were asking about of the
Mm.
legacy activator. When you start seeing and noticing who's affected by your visions, by your image, and like, wow, doing that, I can see how that would help others in a variety of ways. And why that would matter, not just to me to feel fulfilled, but to really impact others. That's when we create that secret rocket fuel that I call your legacy activator. And it's taking all the values and core values and ideas that have come from the visioning and the imaging and the imagining within yourself to create a proclamation, a clear proclamation of what it is that you truly believe. And based on that, you start realizing this is the legacy that I want to live and that I'm committed to living. So if you'd like, I can give you an example what I developed into what became my legacy activator that has brought me to the point that I'm now talking to you, Prima, is that I realized, and I tweaked this a bit, but what I realized was that I believe that living a life you love, fulfilled by a purpose or a passion or a mission, or what I call by your unique legacy that makes a meaningful difference in the lives of others now and potentially for generations to come, is something that is accessible to us all. I believe that. We all have access to that. And that belief is what drives my commitment to living my legacy, which is to create experiences in which we do get to collectively evolve, but propelled by our passion while also having compassion for our humanity.
I love the way you bring this up, Joe. I have a different process, but I love the beauty of his process. One of the things I like is be your own guru. That is what? So big. Be your own guru. That is so big and so good, because the amount of answers that we possess, no one does.
Yes.
The amount of answers Prima can give herself, no coach has them. And it can be, Joe, at one point I struggled for a year, full on. I struggled with clarity. I struggled with direction. I didn't know where I was. I felt like where I was going wasn't the thing. I needed to pivot, but I didn't know pivot to what. And I tried pivot after pivot after. I must have done like 13 or 14. And every time I did a pivot, I felt worse. Every time I did a pivot, I felt worse. And at one point, I said, this is it. I decided I wasn't going to have a coach at that point. I said, you know what? This is it. No mentor, no coach at this point. At this point, God, it's you and me. What should I do? And I began looking in, and I began to say, okay, Prima 15 years from now, what would she do? And you'll be surprised, Joe, that was the clarity that I needed before hiring another coach. That was the voice I needed to hear. Those were the answers. Like I began to say, okay, go this direction. And I would go and I would just say, like, how do I feel about that? And I like what you said, being your own guru, because until we are our own guru, there is no way another human being can help you unless you get the fact that you're the first guru before the consultant.
Yeah.
I thought that was so good. And there's the other thing you said, which is crushing the soul crushing, but that was so good. Because there is always, the calling is clear, but the how is not. And in my world, I choose to say the calling is clear. So I'm choosing to say yes. And I am choosing to release the how because it doesn't belong to me. Because the moment I get stuck in the how, I get this, but. Like the moment I get stuck in the how, I am not moving. And so in how I do the legacy work, I say the calling is yours to answer. Is this it? That's a question you have to say, no, it's not. And I want more, and I'm open for more. The how of the more, I decide it doesn't belong to me. And I just choose to keep going and listening to my instinct and allowing the how to evolve as I move. But I like that Joe has a very clear way he's thought through it.
Yeah.
I like that you're structured, Joe. It's a challenge for me because I am not structured. I'm like, the how does not belong to me when it comes everything. Like I am so over the place. And I love that you have structure because it makes me feel like, oh, Prima, maybe you need a structure, not the how does not belong to me. I really appreciate you saying putting this here. This is where you are. This is where you're trying to go. Let's look at the facts. Let's install a GPS to actually navigate how to get there. But I like how you're thinking through the process. Become your own guru. Allow yourself to imagine and dream. Yeah. And I think eventually as you dream and move, I don't know. I want to say instinct because that's where I go, but I think Joe has a different thing. So now you become your own guru, Joe. You start listening to yourself, which for me, I think it's instinct. In my world, it's called instinct. You begin to allow yourself to dream, and because dreams are free, so why not? And then now the C is as you dream, as things come up, you revisit your values, you revisit who you are, you revisit what means anything to you, and you go yes or no. I'll open this door. I won't open this door based on who I am, based on my uniqueness, based on my personality, and what brings meaning to me. Am I getting that process somehow okay, or is there anything that we need to add there to make it clear?
That's perfect. That is the beginning. And you're right, Prima. For most people, having the clear dream, having the vision, having the clear legacy activated, knowing what it is you believe in, what you're committed to, and the legacy you want to live is awesome. However, not however, and you can be sure that the next thing that will happen, and this is what I experienced, and this was what got me then to the second step of what I realized I needed if I was actually going to live this legacy of joy and fulfillment and passion and purpose. And that was I had to be able to get out of my own way. So what do I mean by get out of my own way? Well, I came up with a phrase for it. And what it means to me is overcoming what I call the ills. Ills spelled IILS. And what are the ills that come crawling out of the woodwork when you have this big dream and you have this beautiful vision and life is going to be so beautiful and gorgeous and fulfilling and dreamlike? The ills crawl out. And what are the ills? They are the inevitable, imagined limitations. Because what happens at that point is you start seeing, like you said, you start getting caught up in the how and the yeah buts and the what and oh, who am I to think that I could accomplish that? Or well, what about all of this? And I have these responsibilities and I can't just just go pursue my passion. Well, this was a nice thought, but I don't see how it. And all of this stuff starts coming in the way of you acting on that beautiful desire and vision and dream within you. So if you don't have the tools to be able to break through those limitations, those limiting beliefs, those imagined limitations, then you will end up getting stuck. You don't have the tools. At that point, it's not enough to simply say, I'm giving this to the universe. That's a great notion, but I have heard the expression that's always stuck with me. It's really simply, it's that God, we'll call it the universe, doesn't move any parked cars. So yes, you have this dream, but obviously lying on your couch eating chips and just dreaming all day is not going to have your dream and your mission materialize and won't make a bit of a difference for others. So you do start moving, but you hold it like loosely. Here's my plan. I'm taking these actions towards what I said I'm committed to, and based on what I believe in, I am equipped with strategies, and there are a number of breakthrough strategies that I'm certified in to help people break through those limited beliefs, those limitations. And that's far beyond simply positive affirmations of, oh, let's just say that everything is wonderful and great and it'll be that way. No, it's beyond that. You need the powerful tools to keep you moving forward in the face of those limitations that inevitably arise so that you can stay on the course and be flexible for the new opportunities and meeting people like Prima who will appear on your journey because of the fact that you're so clear and you're moving forward.
You know, Joe, I like to tell people, take this time in faith that there's another step which is going to unfold, and that step does not have to be in your pocket. But it can be so hard to do or to give someone who does not have, I like to call it something which was in Think and Grow Rich. I think unwavering faith about either what you want or what you're going for. I feel like there's this phase where you do not see the step after the one in front of you. Or maybe you don't even see the one in front of you. And you're like, I am going to move. I am going to start showing up. I'm going to do this thing. And I have complete faith that the universe, the world has my back. But I know that I haven't always been in this place of surrender. So I wonder what you have to say about that, because I always feel like I do not have the next step sometimes. And the more I stop making it decide what I do, the easier I jump into that place, because I just surrendered, and somehow a step came and just boom, it was there. And I was like, really? Like, was this step always there? And it just appeared from nowhere. And I don't know how to teach that or encourage someone that it's going to show up. How do you help people get out of their head and surrender literally? Because for me, what helps me is I feel like this calling in my head is from God. I believe that it's God who is putting this thing in my head, who is forcing me to get out of my bed every day. And I said, God, if you want me to do this work, you're going to take care of me. If you want me to do this work, you're going to guide me. You can't throw me in the wilderness and tell me to change the world without a proper help. And I said, God, if I die, it's on you. I am going to move, and I am believing that you will put food in my pocket. You will put the steps. You will bring the experts. You bring everyone. Like, it's how my head works. And God will take care of me if I am doing what he wants me to do. What's your thought process around that? Because I feel like it's a very tricky piece. And it can feel hopeless when you don't know what to do next, or you don't see the proof that it's going to come to life. I feel like the fear can be louder sometimes. What's your process around that piece? Because I feel it's very tricky.
So a couple of analogies come to mind. One is, and I'm blanking on the name of the author, forgive me. He wrote a brilliant book that's sold millions, if not billions of copies at this point worldwide in numerous languages, called The Three Simple Steps. And in that book, the author describes this spiral staircase going up, and you're at the bottom of this landing. And you've got this dream, you've got this vision of what it would look like. And that dream life is at the top of this spiral staircase. And we know that with a spiral staircase, you can't see the top. All you can see are the steps that are in front of you. And that's okay. You have your vision, you're here now, and you don't need to be clear. You do your prayer, you do your meditation, you do your inner work that says, I know what I'm here for, I'm clear now, and I'm going to take some action.
Mm.
And it's almost like it doesn't matter what that action is.
Mm.
Which brings me to the second analogy that I think of that I attribute to a mentor of mine, David Baer from
Mm.
David Baer Consulting, who does brilliant work in the
Mm.
world to end human suffering and to help entrepreneurs.
Mm.
And what David talks about are the lily pads.
Mm.
And what he describes is it's as if you're on this side of the riverbank and you're
Mm.
looking across, or of this pond, and you're looking across the pond and your visions of your life, both your life vision and your spiritual vision, that's
Mm.
what's on the other side of the
Mm.
pond. And
Mm.
here you are. And in this pond, there's a whole bunch of lily pads. And we're
Mm.
just going to pretend for a moment that you can actually step on lily pads. Now, notice if you step on one lily pad,
Mm.
was that the right lily pad? Wait, should I step on that one? Or should I step on that one? Or maybe this one? And you could think yourself into total stagnation
Mm.
by wondering which lily pad should I step onto instead of
Mm.
trusting, as you were talking about, Prima,
Mm.
trusting it doesn't matter.
Mm.
Step on any lily pad.
Mm.
That stepping might be having a conversation with Primo or with Joe. It might be going to a Chamber of Commerce meeting. It might mean there are others who have these dreams, and you're just going to meet with a group or just meet with some people and have lunch and talk about what's inside of it. Who knows what that lily pad step is?
Mm.
It doesn't matter because either way, even though there's no clear perfect. This is the right path. You got to follow one lily pad immediately after the other, and there's a straight line that
Mm.
leads to your imagined ideal life.
Mm.
Any lily pads will do, and you will get to the other side, and the path almost doesn't matter. That's the how that you talked about
Mm.
that will materialize in time, so
Mm.
long as you are equipped with the ability to overcome those ills, the imagined limitations,
Mm.
have your vision, hold on to your vision, and trust that life and the universe is always working for our highest good. When we have that vision,
Mm.
of course, the universe in vibration with you
Mm.
wants that to materialize in the world, both for your own fulfillment and for the joy and fulfillment and impact for
Mm.
others.
I feel like you have such a depth of illustration and examples and tangible frameworks. I really love how I'm loving this conversation. Joe, I know that you have developed the resolve framework. I wonder though, why did you create it and what is it for? And is it going to help if you bring it up now for the listener?
Sure. I had to develop it. I felt
Mm.
compelled to develop the resolve framework, and I'll describe it in a moment, for the very reasons of what you've been pointing to throughout this conversation, which I've
Mm.
enjoying so much, Prima. I really appreciate this. And that is, so many people have the question of, well, what is it? What is the right vision? What is it that I'm here to do? And what is it? And even if I figure that out, so what? I may not be able to accomplish it. And what are the next steps? What are the right lily pads for me to step on? Well, what's the right steps up this spiral staircase for me to take so that I don't fall over the sides?
Mm.
And I realized that if who I am is based on my heritage and based on the messages I've personally been given and through going through this framework myself, if I'm going to be able to help others get from their point A to the level of fulfillment and enjoy that is their right and that is waiting for them, then I had to have some sort of a structure to do so. And
Mm.
what I developed, again, I know I may sound like a broken record, but again, based on many decades of such beautiful wisdom from so many different teachers and mentors
Mm.
and workshops and retreats and books, what I developed was something that I call resolve. And I love resolve because it has three aspects to that word, resolve, that apply here. Number one, it's the framework. The resolve is an acronym. So each letter of resolve stands for a step in the framework. There are 7 steps to go from where you are to clarity and confidence on living your unique personal legacy. But notice that resolve has a couple of other relevant meanings here. One is resolve can mean resolve the inner conflict within yourself that is saying, I want to stay on this ledge right here because if I move off of this ledge, I'm putting myself in danger of falling off this mountain altogether. So I need to resolve the inner conflict that's pulling me towards what I've had and what's comfortable, and that my lizard brain wants me to keep and maintain because that means safety and no saber-toothed tigers eating me. And so we're have this prehistoric disposition wanting to keep us in place, and we have to resolve the conflict and realize there's something more that I'm ready to take the leap for, but I do want some structure around it. And that leads to the other meaning of resolve, which is to have the resolve. When you have the resolve, you're saying, I'm resolute. I'm resolved to follow this through, take some sort of action, whatever that is today, to say, comfortable is no longer acceptable because I know I'm meant for more. And in that case, the resolve framework is here so that you don't have to feel like it's just a workbook or it's just you on your own or some weekend workshop that's supposedly going to give you your life vision now. No, it's a 3-month framework of one-on-one coaching once a week for 3 months to hold your hand through this process. And the process is the acronym of resolve, which is the R in resolve stands for reality check. We talked about this, that you've got to have your starting point, your launching point, be clear on where you are right now before we can get to where you want to be. So that's R in resolve. E in resolve stands for envision. We talked about that. The dreaming without being tied to the expectations of others, either people in your life currently or past influences. You are free to imagine the life that calls to you and the difference that you can make. Which leads us to the S in resolve, which is significance. As you envision, you start realizing, wow, there's some significance, meaning the dictionary term meaning worthy of attention. So my visions, your visions, are worthy of considering because they not only improve the quality of your life and have you living with joy and passion and purpose, but it impacts others. So we're going to start looking at what is that significance that your vision and your dream, how that impacts others. And part of that step is creating your legacy activator. Which then brings us to O, which is your operating system, which is sort of a bonus that I put in through my affiliation with the Y Institute, which is learning your Y operating system, which in shorthand are your superpowers. It's your why, it's your how you live your why, it's what you could ultimately be counted on. And in a very short period of time, it basically a 20-minute questionnaire that looks crazy and you say, how's this going to say anything? It pinpoints consistently what's your why. So I got clear, my why is to contribute to others. Success is when I make a difference in the world for others. And how I do that is I challenge the status quo. I get people to think out of the box and I think out of the box. And ultimately, what I can be counted on is to make sense, to bring a sensible solution like resolve that is usable and practical to help you go from where you are to where you want to be. Now, notice that's not something I memorized or is verbatim. It's I got clear on what my superpowers are that will enable me to live my legacy. And I help others do the same, determine what their superpowers, what are your superpowers that are going to enable you. So now you're armed, you know your superpowers, you have your vision, you're ready to rock. And what happens? Bam, the ills, those inevitable limitations. So the L in resolve is we are going to address those limitations. We're going to cause breakthroughs. And I can say that with consistency and predictability. We'll get at the blind spots that inevitably hold you back from all that you're capable of becoming and doing and living a life you love. And we're going to have the strategies that you won't even need me afterwards. You'll have the tools yourself to coach yourself through those times when you start feeling stuck. And we all face them. And you want to be able to still then get yourself out of it and move forward. So that's your limitations. The V in resolve is velocity. You've got the clarity, you've got your tools. We do need some sort of a plan, but the last thing you want now is another to-do list, just a list of to-dos. Oh, I got to do this. Instead, we use technology that is used by some of the most successful companies on the planet, Google, Amazon. It's too long of a list to even name, that keeps things very simple. Projecting out over the next year, we're going to have certain images of what you want to see in your life, those milestones, and we're going to work backwards on certain 2-3 actions to take in each of those areas over the next 30 days, 90 days, over the next year, that will make it inevitable that you live your legacy. And then the last thing we need, the E in resolve, is ever energize. And we need to have in place clarity around the resources that you will have available to you, what will help you stay motivated, inspired, and confident to continue on until you have the impact and the joy and fulfillment that you've been looking for beyond the professional and financial accomplishments you've had to this point of your life.
Wow. I feel like signing up right now. Did you say this was a 90-day program? It's so good. I can't believe how step by step everything. I wish I had this framework when I was starting and just praying and crying to God, God, where is the step? I wish I had this framework. But I have guessed through my life. My goodness. Tell me about the experience. 90-day, how does it look like in the back end, the experience to go through the resolve?
It's weekly, once a week. We hop on a Zoom call together, one-on-one.
Oh.
So you get one-on-one coaching, and I take you through each of those steps. Now, a lot of times, this one or more of the steps might require some self-reflection time as well. So in between the 1-hour sessions from week to week, you'll have a chance, and it's not usually time consuming. It'll be an hour or two that you'll take during the week to reflect in a very specific way. You'll have an assignment of how to fully develop this step, and then we get together the next week, and I make myself available through text and email, and if necessary, to hop on a call if you really do feel stuck along any of the steps. But I've never had anyone who has. It's as you've pointed out, it's very clear, and each week it's very clear. And it was important to me. Someone once said this to me, and it rang so true. I've been through so much personal development in which it felt like I was just told what to do and then left to do it. And I wanted to create an experience in which it's not a transaction, it's more of a transformational journey that we're on together. And that's what I provide to those who I take through the Resolve framework.
I remember when the last time we talked, you said you don't do group. It's one-on-one, and when you're at capacity, you're at capacity. You don't do group. Is that still the case, or am I hallucinating?
No, good memory. The Resolve framework itself at this point is a one-on-one dynamic. However, I am starting to form groups for the purpose of that last step, the ever energize,
Mm,
because I don't want it to end after 30 days and then people feel like, okay, now they're on their own. So
mm,
I want to have periodic check-ins
mm,
and be able to benefit from the community of the coaching of others and whatever they're stuck with, maybe what you haven't been able to articulate, and you get something out of that, as
mm.
well as be able to bring some new resources, because I'm finding people within the network, then within this community, who have the same tools and have gone through Resolve, can support each other in very practical ways as well, and introduce them to some people to help them live their legacy.
I'm just curious, what's the mastermind code? Is it called the Resolve community? What is it called? I feel like there's an energy around the word resolve that should be a name back end. Is it the Resolve community? Is it the Resolve coaching? What is the name of the people that are coming through?
Right now, until you give me an even cooler idea, Prima, I call ourselves the legacy builders.
Okay, I legacy builders is cool, but there's something around resolve that could be it. Maybe it's the resolve graduate. I don't know. I feel like it's more of a school of hard knocks, a place where you go and you get certified from the school of hard knocks because you've gone through. I don't know. There is something around resolve that is so cool and even cooler than legacy builders, if it makes sense.
Sure. No, I
Yeah.
love that feedback, and I'm gonna definitely pick your brain further after you have a chance to noodle it more, and I'll do the same, and I'll look to incorporate that. Thank you for
No
that
worries. No
contribution.
worries. Just so I understand again, did you say that if I wanted to jump into Resolve, you have a free call that you give people so you can have a chat to see if they're a fit, or do you prefer they come in through another way?
Um, so I do have what I offer is a live your legacy strategy call,
Mm,
and that is a free call.
mm,
And it is an opportunity to get on the phone and say, certain things I heard from you, Joe, or I've read from you, they're resonating. But
mm,
I don't know whether this is fully for me, and I don't even want to have to decide that at this
mm,
point. And I don't even want to have to decide that on a call.
mm,
I just want to get on a call and share a bit about my story with someone who clearly gets it and
mm,
who's lived it themselves. And the we're going to talk about what it is that you want for yourself in your life. We're
mm,
going to talk about as well the considerations that cause you concern and fear and hesitation. And let's
mm,
talk about those. And then by the end of the call, we'll talk about some possibilities of what could be some meaningful steps that you can take
mm,
now towards moving towards living your legacy. Whether that's we decide to book another call to discuss what it might be like working with each other, because there is an energy and a connection that
mm,
we realize could be very fruitful for you, or some other step that would help you that resonates for you. And that is a free call, and it is available to be booked through my website, which has the book your legacy call buttons all over the place, as well as more about my story and the Resolve framework. And that's at thelifeyoulovecoaching.com, www.thelifeyoulovecoaching.com.
mm. I'll be sure to put all of the links to Joe in the show notes. So if you're watching this on a podcast or video platform, scroll through the show notes and everything should be there. I would encourage you to take the call if you're one of us, and we are the code for more human beings. And your job is one, to say yes. I strongly believe the how does not belong to you. And maybe that is why this podcast exists, because the how is coming through. It does not belong to you. What belongs to you is that yes. Are you going to say yes to yourself? Or are you going to be like Joe, who has to think about his dream being a vessel that he dusts and keeps putting up on his shelf and just loves it, loves the idea, but it's just gathering dust? We can't answer the call for you. If you know you're called for more, you know you're called for more. It's a clear calling. But if you choose to say yes, then we're here to hold your hand and say the how exists, and a part of the how, I believe, is this podcast. Because I bring experts here that have the how. And so if you have the yes, the how exists. The one single thing that you can do for the World's Best Kept Secret community is, one, share this episode with one human being that is mad for more, that has a silent cry. Maybe it's your best friend and he only says that at beer, or it's one person who is saying it over the fireplace, but they have that vessel called their dream on their shelf, and they're saying maybe someday. And Joy is here to say no. There's no someday. Let's do it now. So the one cry from me is, could you share this with one human being that you know is called for more? Despite all of the success, every time they are talking to you and you're talking about your dreams, they are talking about something that they feel is too good to be true, something they've put on the shelf and is gathering dust. That is the greatest and grandest gesture you can do for me on this community, is to share this message. Not with 100 people, not with your social media presence, no. With one human being that you believe needs to meet Joe Landa. Joe, we're getting to the end of this amazing conversation. I have enjoyed every bit of it. There's a human being on the other side, and they have the true calling, but there is something which is louder. Yeah, but there's something which is louder, the fear of the unknown. There is something which is louder. Prima, you don't understand. I don't know how it will happen. I don't have the, I don't know, whatever, the time. I don't have the stigma, whatever the yeah buts are. I'd like for you to talk into them, because I would like these human beings to just cross the bridge and move, because the how is not about to show up on your lap. So please move. Joy, help me do something so we can shift them with 1 inch and hopefully end up, knocking them over to the other side.
Sure. Well, one of the most important things I would say to you is think of the cost of inaction, not taking some movement without having to have the whole how figured out, as Prima mentions. And the cost of inaction are very real. The cost of inaction are things like not realizing your full potential for joy and fulfillment in this one precious life we have, that you have. It's not making the impact in the world as fully and as freely and as passionately as you were meant to. It's also some practical things like not being fully present in your life, because there's always something gnawing at you, saying you're meant for more, and then you go through the motions, but you're not as fully present to your significant other, to your children, to your friends. It's all at a superficial level because you know that there's something more that you haven't yet figured out and haven't acted on. And lastly, I would point to the worst pain that imaginable to me is the pain of regret. And this was actually expounded on. This is real. It's not just about me. This is very real. There's a book by a former hospice nurse, Bronnie Ware, who interviewed hundreds, if not thousands, of those who were on their deathbed in hospice. And she interviewed them as to what regrets they may have had in their life. And looking back, she listed the top 5. And what do you think number 1 was on the list?
I was thinking
most people, when I ask them that, Prima, they think of, well, and by the way, we know it wasn't, I wish I spent more time in the office and at work. That's definitely not on there. And the other thing, well, that I spent more time with family and friends. Yes, all of those are there. But the number 1 is the regret that I wish I had lived the life that I wanted to and was meant to, rather than the one that others expected of me.
Wow.
And for them, it's too late. This is your chance to live now in creating a life that you'll never regret, because you know at least you spent from this point forward your best efforts following the visions that are uniquely yours, the dreams that are uniquely yours, not because you have to or because you should or someone says this is a cause you ought to get involved in, but that taking the time, being your own guru, of figuring it out what it is that you're called for. And I'll leave you with this last quote. And it's a quote that comes from an astronaut, Michael Collins, who was on Apollo 11. That was the one where Neil Armstrong was the first man to walk on the moon. And what Michael Collins said, and he was left on the ship when Neil Armstrong was on the walking on the moon, and he's looking out. And imagine being in this spaceship, looking out into the vastness of space and seeing the planet Earth from where you are, suspended in this vastness. And what he said was, and I quote, "I really believe that if the people of the world could see their planet from a distance of, say, 100,000 miles, their outlook on their life would be fundamentally changed." Imagine that experience of not forcing it, but of experiencing the life that is calling to you. That is what resolve is. That's the experience that waits for you. And that is a conversation I would love to have, and would love to hear your story on the life that you are meant to live, a life you love, and that makes a real meaningful difference now and for generations to come.
Wow, I have nothing to add to that. But what I want to say is, as Joe was speaking, the 5 regrets of the dead came to mind, and I was like, I need to speak about this. And when he opened his mouth, he talks about that. Like, when people are dying, they don't regret about things that they spend the rest of their life doing. They regret about not taking a chance on themselves, not saying yes to that voice. And so if you're here, I can guarantee you that it's because you're one of us. You're made for more, and you can run, you can hide, you can't escape the calling. It's unfortunate or fortunate, but you're just made for more, and it's just the truth. You wouldn't be following me. You wouldn't be listening to this video. You wouldn't be on my friend list if you weren't called for more. That's who I attract. People who are called for more, and it's haunting them. And it doesn't matter how many answers you don't have. It doesn't matter the trauma on your head. It doesn't matter the beliefs in your head. That calling keeps knocking until you answer it. And so if you're there and that's you, then you're in the right place. Everyone that shows up is like you. They got haunted. They showed up. They started figuring it out. And the thing that I wanted to say is that for me, personally, from my experience, the hardest thing I had to do was to say yes. Since that time, I believe in God. I don't know who you believe in. Maybe you believe in Mother Nature. Maybe you believe in the universe. I don't know. Whatever you believe in is okay. But for me, God has always taken care of me. He has never for 1 second left me hungry because I said yes. I left my job, corporate, walked out. And when I made that step, God has always taken care of me. He will not leave you to be by yourself. You have this calling. Why? Because somebody's praying. Somebody's life depends on the calling. When you say yes, you're not alone. When you say yes, there is, I don't know, God has your back. Nature has your back. Mother Nature, I don't know what you believe in, but believe in that when you say yes to the calling, you will not starve. It's my belief that, I don't know, I believe in God though, like God will provide. If I am answering the calling, if I am saying yes. And so this is the last one I would say, which is like, say yes. That's all that belongs to you. The how, let go of that. It does not belong to you. As always, if you know you are a part of this community and you haven't subscribed, yes, pause and subscribe, review, rate, follow, do all of the things, because you have no idea how helpful that is. The dream one day is I will bring on the people who have inspired me the most. Say when I was starting this work, it was Oprah. And if she could do it, maybe I could do it. There's other people who really inspired me along the way. But if I go to Oprah and I say, I want you to come on the world's best kept secret, there's going to be one fundamental question. How big is the community? I want to look her in the face and say a number that gets her to say, of course, I'll do it. There is a gathering and I would love to share my message. Every person, however big they are, as long as I can present to them a community, they would love to share their message. So this is how you can give me longer arms than I have. This is how you can give me a bigger mouth than I have. It is to subscribe, to follow, to rate, to just trust the process. And it's in your hands to do this. If you imagine what would happen, who shared this with one person, we would never need an advert, would we? We would never need another marketing piece, would we? We would never need another content piece. Joe would just go back and start doing the work he's supposed to do, which is help people step into the legacy that they know they want to create. You take off his shoulders of having to create content 365, having to be in all of the places. If you can just share his message, he would sit back and help more people. Right now, he can't help a lot of people because he's doing it one-on-one. And so he really can't help as many people if he has to be the marketer and the salesperson and everything in his business. And so you have more power than you think. This is for you if you're called for more and you would love to be a part of something like that. There is others who've answered the call and we are still alive. So you're not going to die. That's for sure. No one has died from saying yes, the calling on their name. So please, this is my plea to you. Say yes and let the how show up. I said yes. And if I begin to tell you my story, you will think it's a movie. So one day I will tell you the story, but today is not the day. But if I can tell you how I started from Uganda, a country with no internet, no power, no nothing, no one had ever done it. Everyone in my family thought I was crazy. The internet is still a scam where I come from. Everything on the internet is Bitcoin. And if I am doing this, if I said yes, there is no reason why you shouldn't. And so I want to sit here and be that light at the end of the tunnel that says to you, you don't need proof that you are made for this. You just need a clear calling in your heart that says you are made for more, therefore move. Today we have Joe Landa, and if Joe is your expert, there'll be a way to book a call. Please book that call and move. Nothing happens if you just become a sponge of information. But what will happen is when you say yes and you move, then now the answers start opening up. Now the how begins to open up. If you stay in this place of learning, you will be in the yeah, but. And we would like to help you move past this yeah, but into the, I'm in the room, let's roll. I appreciate you all. Thank you for your time. Yolanda, thank you so much for your wisdom and for taking the time to be on the show today.
Thank you, Prima. And who knows, maybe together we'll invite Oprah and others to our tribal gathering, and that will be at a huge place in the world with so many thousands that she would not possibly want to miss it.
I'll just pass out. Thank you for today. I will talk to you guys very, very soon. That is it, my friend. To listen to more exclusive interviews like this one, simply go to the World's Best Kept Secret podcast.com and select interviews based on preferred topic.